finally, I have been wanting to review this movie for so long. Finally, it's here, Candyman. Haven't seen it in ages. I'm not buying all that, that urban legend bullshit, though. You know what? I'll even prove it right now. Candyman, 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 Candyman. Oh, what the hell's going on?
I am the writing on the wall, the whisper in the classroom. Without these things, I am nothing. So now, I must shed innocent blood, and Drumdums will review Candyman. Come with me.
Okay, Candyman, I swear to God, I'm not fucking around. I'm gonna do my best on this review. Here we go, Candyman, guys. Candyman stars Tony Todd, Virginia Madsen, and is directed by Bernard Rose. What's up, guys? Welcome to a patron-requested review for the 1992 film Candyman, starring Tony Todd. Really looking forward to getting into this one. I haven't seen this movie in ages. As a matter of fact, the only thing I remember about Candyman, because I saw it, I believe, like in '92 when it first came out, and the only thing I remember is that end scene where Helen is coming out of the rubble, the fire, and her hair's on fire. That's the only thing that has stuck with me since, because that's a pretty damn memorable scene. Outside of that, don't remember anything. So this was pretty much a new experience for me. Also, this will be a patron requested review for Craig Norrie. And myself and my Scream Stream brothers and sister are going to do a review on the same day. So I don't know the exact times that these reviews are going to drop, but look for reviews from Cody Leach, from CP from Will I Like It Reviews, from Brian Lomax, and from Lindsay from Mother Mayhem. And of course, this one. So that way you'll get 5 different perspectives on the movie Candyman. So I just picked up the Shout Factory Deluxe edition of this, and this is the case that you can get. It's like they give you 2 slipcovers. The other slipcover, I have it in my Blu-ray shelf, but that's what the other slipcover looks like. Paid a good penny for this too, actually, because I was looking for a cheaper way to get this, but I couldn't resist with all the features and stuff on this, and this freaking cover I love. Just glorious. But let me just say, I was so pleasantly surprised by this movie. I figured that I would like it. I mean, Candyman as a character is irresistible. I mean, he is a horror icon. Tony Todd, we will get into him as the character, but bona fide horror icon, just really good. But also there's a great story there. So we're gonna get into all that. But first off, quick plot synopsis. Virginia Madsen, she plays Helen, and she has a friend, and they're working on this thesis for this urban legend, the urban legend of the Candyman. They really get going at the beginning of the movie because she looks in the mirror and she says Candyman 5 times, because that is the legend.
Candyman, 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 Candyman. Candyman.
If you say Candyman 5 times, then he's going to appear. And he doesn't appear right away. He could appear at any time, but you pretty much release him when you say his name 5 times. But she becomes obsessed with this story, actually, and she goes into the inner city of Chicago, where the legend of Candyman is very alive and, more importantly, very feared. This community, it's weird because they hold Candyman as a character on high, kind of like they did with King Kong, I guess, in Skull Island. They fear him, but they also respect him. Same thing with Candyman. They fear him, but they also respect him. But the story gets really interesting when Candyman comes in and he starts killing these people. He kills her friend.
And now I must kill you. Your death will be a tale to frighten children, to make lovers cling closer in their rapture.
The interesting thing about this is she is framed for these killings because, Candyman, he can appear at any time and he can disappear at any time. So she has to take all the blame. She ends up getting locked up and, everybody thinks she's crazy. And really, Helen starts going crazy on her own. You know, if something like this happened to you and me, we would probably lose a few of our marbles. So she has to spend the rest of the movie trying to figure out a way to get herself out of this mess. But then there's also these revelations at the end where we find out a little bit more about the past of Candyman and how Helen ties into all this.
Our names will be written on 1,000 walls, our crimes told and retold by our faithful believers.
Because Candyman's past is actually pretty interesting. This was a slave, and he was a very talented artist. And he did this portrait for the slave owner, of the slave owner's daughter. And he ends up falling in love with the daughter, and it's found out, and then his hand is cut off, and he is pretty much fed to the bees, you know, the swarm of bees. And so that creates the legend of Candyman. He comes back to get his revenge, you know, on the inner city, on the community, really on anybody that says his name 5 times. And that's the first thing I really want to talk about. Candyman as a horror icon and what sets him apart from, you know, other horror icons. He's very different. And what I love about him, and you know, you got to thank Tony Todd for this, is he really just commands respect. He doesn't really yell. He doesn't come up with these, you know, these witty quips like, say, Freddy Krueger would. You know, he just has this very commanding voice. And it's really creepy too. It's a scary ass voice.
Be my victim. I am the writing on the wall, the whisper in the classroom. Without these things, I am nothing. So now I must shed innocent blood. Come with me.
And I love his backstory. There's like a romantic element to his backstory. You feel for him. This is a tortured villain.
They smashed the hives and stole the honeycomb and smeared it over his prone, naked body. Candyman was stung to death by the bees.
And I think those are the best villains. Those ones, I guess like Jason Voorhees, where we kind of sympathize for the killer, even though he does these horrible things. Candyman does some horrible things in this movie. There are killings that are straight up brutal with that hook. There are scenes that are just bathed in blood. And by the way, this was a short story really, called The Forbidden, that was written by Clive Barker. And that immediately got my attention because, you know, Clive Barker, he wrote Hellraiser, directed Hellraiser. He didn't direct this, but, you know, it has those Hellraiser vibes all over it. When I was watching this, I was getting Hellraiser vibes, and I was getting Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 vibes. Because, and the reason I say Nightmare Part 2 is because Candyman, for the first, like, 3/4 of the movie, he uses Helen, kind of like Freddy used Jesse. And he really psychologically tortures Helen throughout this movie. You know, she has to watch all these people die around her, even her close friends. But she starts developing this relationship with Candyman.
They will all abandon you. All you have left is my desire for you.
It doesn't really say that she's Helen reincarnated, but she pretty much is. I mean, you know, that scene at the end when you see the painting of Candyman and Helen on the wall, it's her. I just love this story. You know, you give me a slasher movie, I don't ask for much. But when you get a movie like this, which is not really a slasher, but you have just this rich story that, you know, you sympathize with and you just dig right into, it just makes for not only a fun movie, but a great movie, because that's what Candyman is. It's a great movie. Also, let's talk about Virginia Madsen as Helen. I found her character so mesmerizing throughout this whole thing, and that could be part due to, I mean, let's go ahead and call a spade a spade. Virginia Madsen is a beautiful woman. That jumps right out at you. But the character of Helen, you know, there is this aura about her throughout this whole thing. And when it's revealed that Candyman sees her as Helen, the woman that he fell in love with, it all kind of makes sense. But, you know, just to jump into like one of the scenes that I love with her, there's a scene at the very end of the movie. Her husband, Trevor, is a complete, I don't want to say he's a complete douchebag, but as soon as Helen goes to jail, he like moves on and starts seeing one of his students. You know, they allude to that at the beginning of the movie, but it never really tells you if he's actually cheating on her. But then he just bounces right over to one of his students. So immediately you can't stand the guy. And part of that is because you love the character of Helen so much. So then in the end, I love the scene where she comes back. You know, he says Helen 5 times in the mirror. And then she pops up and gets her revenge on him. But before that...
What's the matter, Trevor? Scared of something?
He mourns the loss of Helen. He regrets the way he treated her, that he didn't stand by her. And he realizes that this young girl that he was with, it was all just superficial. It didn't really mean anything. I guess it's like hindsight is 20/20. He realized, you know, what he gave up was extremely regretful. But you love the character of Helen so much because she's smart, because she's tenacious, she's fearless. There's that scene where she actually goes into the inner city. And, you know, I love that this movie deals with social issues that we have. You know, this is a horror movie that jumps right into like urban Chicago. Most horror movies don't do that. As a matter of fact, they usually jump right into like white suburbia, like Haddonfield in Halloween. This one jumps on the other side of the tracks. And what happens when you know, take two different sections of society and put them together and have this whole lore of the Candyman over all that. It just makes for an interesting movie. But Helen was willing to put herself in harm's way. She's even beaten up. And, you know, she takes it on the chin. She doesn't care. She's so focused on figuring out the legend of Candyman. Also, the violence in this movie, this is exactly what I want in a horror movie. You know, it does not hold back at all. But it's not gratuitous. Like, all the violence in this movie really suits the scene, which makes the violence more hard-hitting. You know, there's the one scene where Helen, you know, she has just been arrested and she's actually going and talking to the psychiatrist, and then Candyman comes from behind him and pretty much, you know, guts him from the bottom up, from behind, like a fish. And Candyman's got a badass weapon actually too. You know, he's got that freaking hook. And I said this when I was talking about I Know What You Did Last Summer. A hook is a very effective weapon for a horror killer, a horror icon. It works so well with the character of Candyman. But, you know, to wrap it up, guys, the big thing that I took away from Candyman is it's like a full meal as far as not just a horror movie goes, but a movie goes. It's a really gripping story. The character of Helen is irresistible. Candyman is a scary as hell icon that you actually sympathize with sometimes. He's a very layered character, actually. But Bernard Rose, the director, did such a great job putting this whole thing together and giving us, you know, I mean, let's face it, how many great horror movies are there? There are quite a few, but I'd say 10%, the upper crust, are the great ones. And, you know, then there's the rest. But Candyman belongs in the top, actually. And I'm glad I finally gave it another chance because I never realized that. I thought it was just one of those horror movies that would come and go. But after watching it, I don't want to say again because it really is the first time I've fully taken the movie in. I love the hell out of it. And I'm going to give it a full-on Trapped on an Island. Did not expect that either. I thought I was going to give this probably a purchase worthy. But it really made me curious to check out the sequels too, actually. And I don't expect the sequels to be that great. And I know they're doing a remake of this movie with Jordan Peele behind the production. So I'm really curious to see what they're going to do with that. I would welcome if they brought back Tony Todd, if I'm being honest. But, you know how remakes go. They probably won't do that. But also, guys, be sure to check out the reviews from my Scream Stream crew, Cody Leach, Brian Lomax, CP, and also Lindsay from Mother Mayhem. See what they got to say about this movie. I got a feeling pretty much all of us are going to love this one. But you know, I don't know. I do have my suspicions about one of them, though. So anyway, guys, post your thoughts on Candyman below. And also, you're looking forward to that remake. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day, and on Fridays, we do Free For All Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and Drumdum out.